Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with a Stay at Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo. Welcome back, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good week. I just came from Costco because we are preparing for our youngest birthday party this weekend. It was her birthday on Monday, but we're having the whole shindig at our house on Sunday. And when I was at Costco, all I was thinking about is like, Crystal Kung Minkoff is probably at Costco right now, loading up on that Kirkland olive oil that we always see in her kitchen on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So, since my brain went there, let's dive into part 2 of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion. Usually I start with Vanderpump because that's on first, but we'll go there since I was at Costco just thinking all about Crystal. So I feel like on the last episode, they were talking about Kyle and Dorit and the reunion a little bit with Kathy. But Andy was just diving into that again. And then Kyle was hurt because this was weird. Like, I feel like Dorit, when she intervened, because I know they were all on the show together, because that's when Kathy was a friend of and actually on the show. But they're sisters. So it's like, yes, you may be castmates and you may be kind of like friendly with Kathy because you were on the show with Kyle and friends with Kyle, even though we're now hearing from Kyle, they're like not friends because they only attended lunch together off camera like 4 times in a year. But I could see where Kyle was hurt by Dorit, her kind of jumping in and being like, well, I think Kathy just wants you to do this. And it's like, shush, state Z. That's shut your mouth in Italian. Like, it's just a no go, Dorit. Like, their family. So, this is a deep rooted issue. This isn't like a silly, let's argue for the cameras, then I'll go to a dinner after this and forget about it and laugh while we get our paycheck. Like, this is deep rooted issues you can see with Kyle, with Kathy. She had her spats with Kim, but Kathy runs deeper because she is the older one of Kyle. And I feel like she really does like probably amplify their mom as much because she's named after the mom, Big Kathy. So this is Little Kath, and Little Kath has taken over for Big Kath since she's no longer in the picture. So Garcelle then kind of interjects and she's like, Dorit, do you ever just say I was wrong or I'm sorry? I mean, I just have to say this. I feel like Garcelle does have valid complaints about Dorit because I have complaints about Dorit, like especially her outfit and hairstyle for the reunion. But I feel like any chance Garcelle gets, she wants to shit on Dorit. And she's like, you're wrong. Just shush. Cause like I feel like Garcelle and Kyle disagreed a lot in previous seasons. And now it's like, oh yeah, we're taking Dorit down. Let me like pipe in a sentence. But then they kind of like go off that and they talk about Kyle being sober for 1.5 years. Now, this is interesting. Like, she is sober, and like we refer to the word sober, but like I feel like when I say sober, I'm like talking about someone that was an alcoholic. And she wasn't an alcoholic. She just didn't really like how she felt the next day or like acted a little silly. I mean, I don't think she did anything crazy. I mean, like, but it is weird that we call people sober. I mean, that's what it is, but you know what I'm saying. Dorit said it was a lot of change, but she doesn't think that Kyle stopped drinking because of Morgan. But obviously, when you're like around people, you pick up their habits more. Like in current day, we have found out that she has gotten another tattoo. It's a little cowboy hat. Now, some could say this is relating to Morgan Wade, but I think it's more her love for Kimosabi and those overpriced hats that they light on fire. I would love to go to that store though. And over Christmas break, Kyle was there with the daughters and they saw Rihanna. So talk about amazing. And I think she bought Rihanna hat as you should. Like, I don't even have Kyle money, but if I saw Rihanna and she was giving me the time of day, I'd be like, "Do you want a hat? I mean, even though you're the rich one, you should buy me a hat." But I think it's more for the love of Kemosabe, but she is like on a warpath with the tattoos. I mean, by next season, she may have a whole sleeve on her arm, and who knows what it'll be of. She could get like each daughter's face. That would be interesting, like a whole sleeve of just the daughters. That would be funny. But then Sutton says that too, like, you know, you did change a lot. You say you like didn't, but you did because Kyle's like, "Oh, well, I always like working out." It's like, "Yeah, but not like I'm waking up at 4 AM going down to the gym in Las Vegas working out." And even if you're not drinking, like, that's cool, but it's like, sleep in and relax and, like, chit-chat with the ladies and, like, I don't know, it's just like, she's very changed in my opinion, and I don't even know her on a personal level. I'm just saying from a viewing standpoint, she has changed. And Sutton was bringing up with Kyle how she insinuated that she was an alcoholic or that she's like anorexic. And she's like, "Oh, well, you don't like that we're saying you changed, but you said these things about me and they're not even true." And then they kind of show like all the flashbacks of her saying that. And Sutton really goes on, like, with Kyle saying, "You don't share enough on the show," which we then got Kyle saying this. So I'm just going to play the clip that she said instead of reiterate it because I feel like this was like an Academy Awards speech. It was like very moving, and I'm more on Kyle's side with this one.
Let me tell you something. I have been on the show for 13 years. I've watched my 2-year-old birthday party to that child is now going to be applying to colleges next year. My child done learning how to drive a car, going off to college, coming home from college, getting engaged, rumors about my marriage. I've had 2 siblings on the show. My family has fallen apart. Don't talk to me about not sharing what's going on in my life. You got a horse this season and you have a dating coach. Give me a break.
That was good. I mean, and it is true. I don't like when these people like make up fake storylines for the season, like, "Oh, we're getting ready to film, like, let's pretend like we're having marital issues," or, like, something like this, like, kinda like I feel like Dorit's doing a little bit. I think her and PK are having issues, but I think they're upplaying it a little bit because she feels she's in the danger zone. Um, I agree. Like, it's fine that Sutton's world isn't crumbling, but it's like Kyle did tell us that there was problems with her and Maurizio. She said she had a hard year. Um, she's not gonna like divulge every bit of information episode 1 of the new season. Like that's what I feel like Sutton was looking for because even though this is really happening in Kyle's life, and I do think she wanted to take it slow because they hadn't told all their kids yet what was going on because her and Maurizio didn't even know what was going on really. Um, she's not gonna tell all of it in one episode because she needs to sprinkle it out over the season. Like she is realizing like, okay, this is super unfortunate. This is happening in my life, but this is like my story for the year. Or it was like Erica. She unfortunately had to go through that whole thing with Tom. And it's like she picked and chose when she said things because she's like, yeah, this is pretty much like what's happening to me this year. And I don't like that Sutton was like, let me know everything. And Garcelle too. Like, I feel like Garcelle wants to know everything about everyone. She's kind of mean to them, but then when they like snip back at her a little bit, she's like, "Oh, well, you're rude." And it's like, well, I think it's rude that because Kyle said her daughters were at that weed, THC, whatever, dinner they were upstairs, so they weren't, like, at the dinner, but they were upstairs. I'm like, "Hello." They can hear, and they're probably eavesdropping. I don't know if, like, they don't care at this point because their mom's been on the show for so long, but my butt would have been on that staircase eavesdropping, listening to every word that was happening, especially Cuckoo Denise Richards there with the upside down jacket. I would have been, like, definitely listening or been like, "Oh, I need to come down to the kitchen for something," like, 100 times just as an excuse to hear what was going on. And Sutton was, like, yelling across the table, like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then Garth like, Kyle's like, "Well, I can't afford to have 2 glasses of wine because it makes me feel depressed, and I can't afford to feel depressed." And then she's like, "I'm having problems." And Garcelle's like, "What, with your marriage? Because you have that new ring? Because Maurizio's cheating on you?" It's like, that is pretty ballsy to say. And it was at a table with people that aren't on the show. I mean, let's be real. Like, they were all Kyle's friends, so they've made appearances on the show. And good old Camille Grammer was down the table. I wish we got more from her this season. And then the corrupt Faye Resnick was there, so they know the drill. Um, but, yeah, it's like if she doesn't even know the exact details of what's happening with Maurizio, she's not gonna make up details for some juicier storyline because at the end of the day, we are watching a show, but it is their real life, and it's delicate when children are involved. Um but I love that she said you bought a horse and you had a dating coach because it is true. It's like, I would like to know if Sutton was on the show right now with her ex-husband and the downfall of their marriage was right now because she said she found out they were gonna get divorced. He, like, emailed her or something or called her and was like, "You should probably get a lawyer because like, your divorce papers are, like, in the mail right now for me." Like, that is so awful, and, like, I wonder if she just, like, thought everything was fine and he's the one planning it behind her back, or they were having tension, I don't know, but it's like, "Yes, Sutton, how much would you put on the show right now because you have kids?" So, that was interesting. Um they were asking Dorit something, I can't remember the question, but then, she repeated the question, what it was, and then Garcelle, like, whispered to Crystal, like, "You know, when you repeat the question, it is stalling." And, I agree. I'm so mad I didn't write what the question was. I just was too busy, like, in awe of Kyle going off on Sutton on that, "Give me a break, and you got a horse," and the dating coach. But then they talked more about Denise at the dinner with the upside down jacket, and when they show the flashbacks, like, Denise has been on Watch What Happens Live, she was on the other night, and, she's done some podcasts, and I wonder if she's watched it because as she told Erica in the argument at the dinner, she's like, "Go back and watch the show." Did you go back and watch the show and see how kooky you looked and your scary face? I mean, she was definitely hitting the bottle or hitting something before then because she arrived tuned up. She was even more tuned than anyone, like, sitting there drinking and have the THC. Um, yeah, she, I think, went in on Erica too hard, and Andy asked the ladies if they think Denise was just mad about the brandy thing and why she was, like, going off on Erica, and they all said yes, they think it's the brandy thing that Denise just didn't wanna bring that up and talk about it, but it's like it already happened, so it's not like you're saying, like, a secret. It's not bravo, 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 like, we already know the brandy thing happened, like, just say to them, "I was really mad about that brandy stuff." And then it's so funny. Denise always breaking the fourth wall. And Garcelle said she was like whispering to her, like, "You can't say go back and watch the show because we're on the show." But I like when they break the fourth wall. I mean, I get they can't totally, but when we get like snippets like that, I feel like before they would have had like panic attacks like back in the day and like edited that out. But now it's like we can see the cameras and they'll say like, "Oh, blah, 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 blah." But, yeah, that was good, that they touched on that, and I would like to know what Andy thinks about Denise, about that whole party, because when she was on Watch What Happens Live the other night, she wore the upside down pink jacket, and she wore it upside down, and then when we saw it on Watch What Happens Live, Andy was like, "I could see how you, like, would wear it upside down, and it actually looks like." It kinda looked like a shawl, so instead of the jacket being, like, over the shoulder, arms through the sleeves, it was more like upside down, it was like a trendy shawl, so, like, I get it. We need that for the clubhouse. I thought she was gonna be like, "Oh, here, I wore it tonight, and I want you to have it for the clubhouse." I mean, I don't know how much it is, like, maybe it was super expensive, but it's like, that needs to be hung up in the clubhouse because I love when we get those iconic items, like, we have the bunny that Rinna, gave to Kim Richards, and she gave back at the reunion. Oh, that was, like, earth-shattering, jaw-dropping, and I think we have Jax's cable knit sweater there from season 1 VPR when he ripped it off, all, like, sniffed up on cocaine or allegedly or all roided up, whatever he's on, all kooky in the parking lot trying to fight Frank, and then everyone's taxiing away because I feel like that was pre-Uber, which I love seeing the taxis because we don't get that anymore. We get the Lyfts and we get Uber. Um, but then Andy was just asking Dorit some questions, and 3rd year in a row, yawning at Dorit because she is long-winded. It's like, "Girl, this isn't like a 60 minutes interview. It's just a quick question, and they're there for like 10 hours." And do you know what I heard? That this isn't alleged, this is true facts. She kept them all waiting. So, like how Dorit, we always joke like, "Oh, she's in glam." She kept all those women waiting on this long ass day for 2 hours while she was running around in the parking lot taking those stupid videos, like, that she dubbed the Mean Girls voiceover, and I was like, "I would have annihilated you at the reunion just because of that." Like, let's say I wouldn't have had much to say, so now I look back and almost think Garcelle went in on her a little bit because she's like, and you had, she probably wanted to be like, and you had us waiting here for 2 extra hours. You are delusional. Like, not only do you make insensitive comments to me, but you're keeping us all here for 2 extra hours. And those are long days. Like we saw, I said, on the last recap episode that they were there, some of them at like 6 a.m. starting glam. I mean, that's a freaking long day. And then it's like an exhausting day because, like, I feel like if you got over stuff from the season, you get all hyped again because you watched everything, you watch everyone's confessionals, you get all pissed off all over again. Like 6 months or longer has passed by, but now you're re-pissed off all over again. It's very stressful. That's why I do understand why they get paid. I mean, yes, some could say, well, this isn't like a real job. They're not sitting and rotting at a miserable office, but it is stressful. Everything is stressful. We all do. Like, yes, I don't clock in and clock out at an office, but I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm keeping the household in order, keeping the kiddos in order. I'm doing this, but I love this. This is like my escape. So, and I love that I have all my faithful listeners out there. But Garcelle goes in on Dorit. So now I'm going to look at this at a different lens because maybe it's just deep down she's mad that they were here for 2 extra hours. They're talking about like the robbery. And then Andy brings up that Dorit reveals she was at a Marshall's. So Andy says, are you on a budget? Do you have money issues? Because that has been like a big thing this year. People are saying like, oh, he always has all these lawsuits and blah, 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 blah. And like they have money issues. And Dorit had to dye her hair because she can't upkeep with that blonde. And what I think more is happening is maybe her hair was dying because of the blonde. Um, I don't necessarily think it's money because, like, trust me, we still see Dorit spending a lot of money. And I just think she wanted to change, and that's what she said. Sometimes people like, she is still dealing with the robbery and the PTSD. She just maybe was like, "Let me have different color hair." I'm getting used to the darker hair, but then when they do the flashbacks, I'm like, "Wow, she was really blonde," and I kinda miss the blonde sometimes. Maybe she'll get a couple highlights for the summer, not wearing Beverly Beach bathing suits because, as I also said, that website is shut down. But Garcelle said there were some weird things about the robbery. Oh, wait, I gotta talk about her at the Marshalls. So, I love me some Marshalls, but was shocked that Dorit appears at a Marshalls. But Marshalls out there is probably amazing. Like, it would be a luxury for me to go shop at the Marshalls out in Beverly Hills. Like, it would probably be so expensive. It would be Kevin Lee, she, Marshalls compared to the Delaware Marshalls. She had $10,000 cash. So weird. Apparently she was giving that to her staff as Christmas presents, but did you have to bring it into the Marshalls in your purse? And ladies out there, never walk away from your purse like the shopping cart. Like, don't do that. Like, if you're gonna keep your purse in the shopping cart and not wear it on your body, keep the shopping cart with you at all times, especially the holidays. People get cray cray and want to steal from people. And they probably saw her bimbo walking around Marshalls because she's probably secretly on the budget. And they were like, oh, let's just take her wallet. It's probably full of exciting things. And it was $10,000 cash. Um, so she said that they did catch them because they were on camera, but then they bring up the robbery. So Garcelle, this is insensitive, I think. She said there are weird things about the robbery. So Dorit was like, that was so awful when you implied in your interview or confessional, she's like, "Yeah, the only thing I noticed about Dorit's jewelry from the robbery was she still had her wedding ring." And it's like, okay, the robbers aren't gonna take, like, everything in your house. Like, they only have X amount of time, and I do not think that Dorit or PK staged this, or I don't think PK staged it to collect insurance money and terrify his wife for the rest of his life, because you know what? He'd rather deal with, if they have money issues, than the PTSD that he gets upset about sometimes and does not understand with Dorit, than causing her all that. Like, he would never do that, and they have kids. Like, they are human beings at the end of the day. Um, I think it is pretty terrible that Garcelle thinks it's fake because I don't think this happened, um, before the reunion or during the reunion, but we do know they actually caught one of the robbers. So there were 2 men. They did catch one now. So, Yeah, I don't think also, like, PK is gonna pay people to rob it and then let them get caught, you know what I mean? Because Garcelle's like, "I think it's weird that they left your cell phone at the gate. Why is that weird?" You know what I love that Andy said? Because I feel like he doesn't like Dorit or stick up for her because he's over there yawning for the 3rd year in a row when she speaks, and she's probably on the chopping block for next season, but he did say there are trackers in phones. Truth, like, I wouldn't take someone's phone because A, you could report it missing, or B, yes, there are trackers. They're like, find my iPhone, find my friends and whatnot. And you know, as soon as they leave, if you didn't have a phone in the house, you're gonna run over to your neighbor's house or like jog down to Kyle's house to get exercise to prove to her that you're like an athletic friend and knock on the door and be like, I need to use your phone to track my phone and we could go get them. Get Maurizio, get all the 8 dogs, and we'll have Storm sniff out the robbers. So I don't like that Garcelle insinuates that because this is how I look at it. She's gonna harp all year that Dorit said the word attack. And yes, Dorit has made insensitive comments before. I'm not saying she hasn't, and she may be a little in a bubble, but she's not being totally awful or saying totally awful things to Garcelle. And Garcelle is saying that because she's like, oh, well, Dorit, it's not that bad. And she's like, you went on national television and implied that we like staged our robbery. And Garcelle just doesn't care. But, like, minutes before that, she was saying to Dorit, "Why don't you just say sorry to Kyle? Do you ever say you were wrong?" And it's like, "You're not saying you were wrong." She kinda half-assed said, "Oh, okay, well, like, I'm sorry," but it was like you're just saying that. Like, words are words. Like, do you really mean it? And then Dory was like, okay, thank you. And even the way she said it, she's like, bitch, I know you don't mean sorry. And I don't know, maybe Garcelle is just mad because they waited 2 extra hours, but her and Dory just don't like each other, which is understandable. Like, you're not gonna like everyone on these shows because I do miss the days when they did cast like a real group of friends. I feel like we're getting away from that. That's how all these shows did originate. But you always had the couple randos in there that weren't the friend. Like back in the day on Beverly Hills, I feel like it was like Camille, Kyle, Lisa, Adrian. They were really friends. And then you had like Brandy Glanville. Like she wasn't their friend. So they had their issues with her because they're like, ugh, like, why are you here? Like, I just want to film this show with my friends and go out and like get free stuff from Bravo. And then we got you over here. Or like Jersey, they were all friends. And then they had Danielle Staub. And it's not like that anymore. Like the longer these shows go on, we just force people to be in these groups together. And sometimes they click as friends and sometimes they don't. And this is what happens. Like Garcelle and Dorit can cohabitate on these trips and whatnot, but they don't like each other. If the cameras weren't up, they want to be friends, and they haven't even become friends because of the camera, because sometimes that can happen too. But then, they get into when Sutton insinuated that PK had someone in the car during his DUI, which that is weird. So then Sutton's like, because everyone's like, "Where'd you hear that?" She's like, "I heard it on the streets." And I her accent literally gets thicker by the episode. I mean, she's just gonna be full blown being like, "Yeehaw, y'all!" Like the next episode, I feel like we see her. It's like, I feel like she picks and chooses like when she's going to deepen her accent because when she first came on the show it was not that deep and now it's just getting deeper and deeper every time she talks. And I feel like it's when she is on the spot like this and has to defend it. She's like, look y'all, and she's like, look y'all, I heard it on the streets. And then everyone's like, what streets are you roaming around that you heard it? And that is true. I mean, she did go to that dive bar with that date Steve. What was his name? Steve. See, we already, I don't even remember his name because she already dumped him because she's so weird, or he dumped her because she's like, no, you know what? Can't get too close to anyone because if you want to get remarried and screw up this alimony I get every month, I'm not allowing it. Santos, the horse, is the only man in my life, and Avi, my assistant. But I thought that was totally rude. Like, I feel like they all kind of throw out these rude things. Like, when I say all, I mean that side of the couch, like Crystal, Garcelle, and Sutton. Like to Kyle, Erica, or Dorit, or even Annemarie. It's very funny how they do the couches. It's totally like they're saying mean stuff to that other side of the couch. Which, by the way, Annemarie still not making a peep this episode. She talked some last episode. She had to raise her hand, and we were allowing her to talk. This episode, nothing. No words yet, and we're like halfway through. I feel like, but Yeah, Sutton is just like, "I heard it on the streets," which is just so rude. It's like, who'd you hear that from? And it's so funny because I did see the day that PK posted on his stories. I reposted it when he said the police, or he posted the police report from the DUI, because obviously the police aren't gonna lie. The police literally could give 2 shits that you're on TV or you're filming a TV show. Like, when it comes to stuff like that, I feel like they'd crack down harder on all of them. Like, that's what Teresa says, and even Joe Giudice and Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore has now come out and said that, like, all Mike the Situation did was he didn't pay his taxes, which I know that is bad and you need, time, but he said people in his same situation, they just had to pay their fines. Like, they didn't do jail time. But, like, I do think sometimes they crack down harder because they wanna, like, scare everyone, like, "Oh, look what's happening to them," or I don't know. I mean, thank God he's, like, making it worth his while. He just, like, released a book and whatnot, so now he's probably happy he went to jail. But, like, the police are not gonna lie and say, "Oh, okay, Mr. Kemsley, we won't write that you have this side piece in your car right now with you because you're on national television and it'll ruin your reputation and your wife will get mad at you." No. So he posted the police report, said he was alone, and then he threw some shade to Sutton, but he was allowed to be mean. He said, like, "And you need to stop being so picky, love. You're no Dorit." I was like, "Ooh, 1 point for PK, 0 for Sutton." Um, she does need to stop being so picky though, because that's why she has a dating coach. And that guy that she did the darts with in the dive bar seemed wonderful. And we know he's not gay. He's not leaving her for a man because he thought Celine Dion designed her Celine purse. And he wasn't frightened by the ocean spray in the purse. So I don't know, like, I don't like when everyone on that side is kinda throwing these mean, hurtful jabs, but then when they say, like, one word to someone, like Dorit saying "child bride" to Crystal, and she's like, "Oh, you're saying I'm a mail order bride because 'cause I'm Asian." It's like, no, she's just saying something mean back. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And then Andy is just kinda keep going with the, like, Sutton Warpath of things that came out of her mouth this season. So, they are talking about when she said Erica's tickets were, like, $7 in Vegas, which, by the way, I will do a special bonus episode. I watched the first part of, the Erica Jane thingy, and very interesting. It was good. I liked it. So that'll be my bonus episode for this week. But that was insensitive that Sutton said that, and then, they brought up when Erica gave up fighting for Lent, which was a good thing, and then when she went in on Denise, Kyle was like, "I love that." That was one of the funniest lines, I feel like, of the season on the confessional when Kyle was like, "Well, I guess Lent is over." Uh, but then Annemarie still has not spoken. Um, they're asking Erica about, like, if she still had any friends after the whole Tom thing, which is pretty shitty. I do feel like she doesn't have friends. Like, I feel like she's on this show, so they're like her friends by work association. And then she has like Mikey Minden and all those people, but she like pays them. So it's like, do you have any friends that like you're either not forced to be with because you're filming and getting paychecks, or like you're paying because they're on your tour? Bet It All on Blonde, that's what the, episode was called, I'm sorry, I was just like, "Oh, that Erica Jane thing that was on after the show." They dumped it in, like, how they're gonna spin us into the valley, for Vanderpump Rules, which, side note, Brittany was, like, seeing, I'd keep trying to find the video, I saw it one time, she was moving everything into her new rental house, and their show comes out, like, next week, I think, or, like, the following week, and I don't think that this is for the show, but it is starting to get suspicious because you know why? The cameras were up for her moving into the new rental house. It's like, is this a Scandival cameras back up, a Kyle and Maurizio chit chat cameras back up? You guys are now conveniently separating, getting divorced, cameras back up? Like, I don't know. It is weird. I don't think she would put their child through that, and if she would, she's awful. And reality TV in Hollywood has gotten to her Kentucky muffin brain, if that is the case. But anyway, back to RHOBH. Um, Erica said she did have one friend. her private lawyer friend of Tom's, and he's the one that gave her $700,000 to help. That's a lot of money. Even if someone gave you $7,000 amongst your divorce, that's more than any of her rich, quote unquote, friends. Like, where was Lisa Rinna and Harry Hamlin? Were they just, was he making her like blueberry pie and pasta sauce out of his garden? Or she probably needed financial help, Harry, not your blueberry pies. In that old kitchen, I have to side note, their outside house was beautiful and their view was spectacular. Beautiful property because it's very hard to get that, but please redo that kitchen. It gave me the ick one season because they had like a mouse in there and like I don't know. There's probably like 100 years of crumbs under that stove too. You got to get everything out of there, brush it all out, and Harry can get back to his cooking after that. But I never liked that kitchen, but I love that property. I just feel like her house was like low key, like dirty. I don't know. Um, Andy then said, "Can you explain to me why you met with the victims?" Because we saw in that Hulu special, she met with the victims. And then Erica was so weird. She went, "No, I cannot." And it's like, why are you under oath to not speak about it? Like, we all watched it on TV. Just say you wanted to meet with them to like hear what they had to say. You don't have to get into any legal jargon. Like, I feel like sometimes she's scared to say too much because it could backfire on her with anything like legally happening still. So I do understand that. Like last season, she was not going to talk about those damn earrings and the victims and all that. And I don't think Garcelle and Crystal got that because it's like if she said one word, she's not just having chats like out to dinner with her friends. She's literally on national television. So they will take that to court and be like, look what you said on TV and blah, blah, and hold that against her. But it's like all he simply said was, why did you meet with them? And she's like, I can't tell you why. And it's like, okay. And then we see Tom is going to trial, which he should. And then Crystal is questioning it and about his Alzheimer's because she said her father has Alzheimer's and that she actually volunteers her time to work with Alzheimer's patients. So I think we need to get Crystal up in there to work with Tom Girardi because he won't even know who Crystal is because he never met Crystal. So he won't, even if he's faking the Alzheimer's, he won't know that he has to fake it for Crystal because I don't think she was ever on the show when he was like coherent and tuned in. And even if he was, he never met Crystal. She was not one of the ladies that went to their house ever, I think. So she was getting a little mad that Crystal was, like, doubting because she went, "Is she trying to imply that he doesn't have Alzheimer's?" No one's saying he doesn't have Alzheimer's. It's just, like, super convenient. He's now, like, brain dead wearing slippers to court when he needs to own up and take responsibility for everything he's done for like 20 years. So that's all we're saying. And Crystal is saying the progression of Alzheimer's, it was like way too rapid because he was like literally actively being a lawyer. And then shortly after, he's just like doesn't even know where he is and know who Erica is. So it is true. I think he does have dementia, but it is upplayed. And I don't care if you have dementia or not, need to go to trial. And like I said before in my other episodes, you need to go to an Alzheimer's jail nursing home place. He's just in a regular common day nursing home that any person can go to. He is not any person. He is a bad person that did very bad things to all these people. But then, thank God, I don't know why we're getting her, and we're getting her mainly next episode, the third episode, last one of Kathy Hilton. She arrives to her trailer to glam up. Like I said, I don't know why, because she literally wasn't on at all. But thank God we are getting our girl, Kathy Hilton.
Who is Hunky Dory?
Because I missed her so much this season. I mean, every time I think of her, that's all I think of, by the way, who is Hunky Dory. But she's already divulging information in the glam trailer. So she's getting her face on, she's getting her hair done, and she's talking about Kyle, and she calls him Maurice. Now, if we remember back in the day when Kim was on, and she's like, Maurice, and I'm like, why is that their nickname for him? Like, just the two of them. Like, I think it's because they secretly didn't like him. So they're like, let's pick a really ugly nickname for Maurizio. We're not going to call him by his birth name, and we're not going to call him Mo like Kyle does. And we're not gonna call him Love Bean like all of a sudden Maurizio was calling Kyle this season. So they're like, let's call him Maurice. It sounds weird and ugly. And sorry if anyone's named that's listening to that. I'm just saying. Like, it just is like a weird nickname to give him because he has a nickname Mo. But they're like, no, that is not good enough for us because we don't like you. So she said that Kyle does not do anything like abruptly or quickly. She takes a lot of time and thought. So she thinks Kyle has felt this way about Maurice for 3 to 4 years. Here we go. Here we go with Kathy. I knew we're going to get it out of her. And if we liquor her up just a little bit before she sits on that couch with her purse, we are going to get information about Morgan Wade, I think, out of her lips. She already kind of was on Watch What Happens Live. Um, she's dressed like she's the mother of the bride or mother-in-law of the bride at a wedding, kind of, with the bedazzled suit and the bedazzled purse that she must have. So she is just talking to the glam team. Nobody was asking her this, but she knows her job and duty. And I hope we get her next season. I would like her as a full-time cast member. I feel like she didn't want to be a full-time cast member because I think Bravo would love her to hold that diamond at the beginning. Like, we could boot Kyle out of the way in the middle and they could share the middle, the Richards sisters, and then maybe even get Kim. They could be like the top of the triangle pointing out, but just a thought. But I think she didn't wanna be full-time because it's like it is like you have to do things, whereas if you're a friend of, you could, like, pop in and out when you feel. And probably for her life, that is better. Um, I am excited to get her next episode. The ocean spray is discussed about Sutton. They do a whole montage about her pulling that nasty juice out of her purse. Um, I wish Andy would have, like, harped on that a little more. I wish he would have been like, "Why do you bring that?" Because, like, it's not even good. Like, why do you not want fresh squeezed grapefruit juice? But we had a lot of other things to discuss, so I guess that wasn't, like, a thing. Because then we were talking about the magic mic of it all. So, finally, Andy is including Annemarie in a topic a little bit, and they're talking about the money that Sutton brought. She brought all those ones and all the money she brought to throw at the naked men and how she wore pants. And finally, he calls upon her with like 5 minutes remaining at the reunion. She could have taken like a whole lunch break. Like, I would have been like, if I'm not going to talk, can I just like relax in the trailer since like I sat here for 2 extra hours with Dorit being late? Um, she said that it's very tacky to talk about money and the alimony that Sutton receives because she's like, I have very, 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 very wealthy friends and very, 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 very famous friends. And I'm like, all right, you could have just said very wealthy friends and very famous friends. Like, I don't know if you had to add like 5 verys and 5 wealthies because I bet Kyle has wealthier and more famous friends than you. I mean, one of her close friends who she actually does things with, it's not surface level fake friends, is Kris Jenner. I mean, I'm sure Annemarie is not friends with Kris Jenner because they wouldn't like Annemarie. She's just saying it's tacky that Sutton talked about how much alimony she gets. And then they do talk about the magic mic thing. Not enough though, I feel like I wanted that to be more like at the beginning of the episode when they were talking about Sutton trash talking Erica's ticket prices in Vegas, and we could have segued immediately into Vegas topic like, "Oh, while we're on the subject of Las Vegas, let's talk about that and you wearing those pants." Um, then they, of course, showed the montage of "Name 'em," and then Kyle's, like, holding her fingers up, counting how many times Sutton is saying "Name 'em," like she was in a little box at the bottom, because I guess, like, what we also don't know is they sit there and it's like, I don't know where a TV is. It may be like literally floating over them. I don't know. So they can see what we're seeing, like when they show the flashbacks and the montages, because they can hear it and they are like laughing because we get like a little square box in the corner of their facial reactions to it. So she is in the little square box at the bottom, like counting, name them, name them, name them. And then they're just talking about how Kyle kind of insinuated that Sutton was drinking, and I think she was. I think she was hitting that ocean spray with vodka. I don't think Sutton is like an alcoholic, but she definitely likes her cocktails, and I think she probably is the type that drinks every day. And like, cool, good for you, girl. Like, as long as, like, you're taking care of your kids and your life and everything, I guess Avi takes care of your life for you, basically. So you just gotta pretty much take care of the kids and sit back and have that ocean spray grapefruit with vodka. I mean, that's fine. But it's like, she acts like it's so weird that they were like, oh, yeah, you were definitely drunk when you were saying name 'em. So it's like, okay, you should, like, use that as an excuse for you acting so weird, like, "Oh, well, I was drinking, so I was being weird." Instead, you're just like, "How rude, Kyle." And, I just think the whole Magic Mike thing was obnoxious. Like, it was definitely because you didn't get picked, and it's fine. Like, just say that. And Kyle was like, "Yeah, here you go." Like, not wanting to share something on screen. Like, why didn't you want to do that? Like, give me a break. And I was like, you go with your crystal. She's gripping that crystal in her hand, the healing crystal. It's not working because she's getting activated, as Lindsay Hubbard would say, but maybe it's working internally for her. But Kyle's like, I'm showing up to this reunion clear mind with one more tattoo since we've all filmed. But now we are going to switch over to Vanderpump Rules. So we pick back up in Lake Tahoe. Everyone is waking up. Tom is journaling. Evil Tom, not positive Tom. Schwartz is looking out the window, seeing a little blue jay, and he's like, "Oh, that's nice." Um, I am, like, dying to know because I stopped the TV when he was journaling, and he was just, like, writing how groundbreaking it was that Sheena said hi to him at the airport, and that he feels still anxious and upset, but feels like this is, like, good and positive, like, being here, and I feel like he secretly is like, "Thank God Katie and Ariana aren't here because maybe I can get everyone, like, on my side," 'cause they're about to go out and do, like, meditation and yoga, and he's doing all this, like, remorseful shit. But then he kind of isn't because, like, in the previous episode, he's, like, hitting the wall and he's like, "Oh, I hate James," and "Oh, Lala," and "Charles Manson's son," and it's like, yeah, those are all things you did. You should just say, "I hate myself." But and then maybe everyone will be kind of ish nice to you. But there was, like, 2 lines that were, like, blurred out. So I wonder what it was. Like, I bet it was about Raquel. I'm calling her Raquel, not Rachel. I know that she is now Rachel. I am calling her Raquel. Um, I think it was that because it's like, what else would it be that it's blurred out? Because legally, I bet they, like, can't show, I don't know, writing of her, even though we are talking about her. But and then now, fast forward to today, him and Ariana are being sued by Raquel for the revenge porn stuff, which is so annoying. I recapped that in my gossip episode. It's like, girl, you are not Pamela Anderson. Like, this is not spreading around the World Wide Web. Like, so you can't really call it revenge porn because Ariana texted to you because you were in it. And then she said, "This is the proof I have that you and Tom did this together. You're dead to me. Goodbye." And then she probably deleted it forever. Like, she probably, like, specifically Googled how to delete something literally forever. She's like, "I literally never want this in my iCloud. I don't want to get a new phone 3 years from now, and it drops from that cloud onto my phone, and I see this. I want it to be gone for life." So Rachel's acting like they're distributing it. Very annoying. But Sheena and Lala are getting, like, cozy, just chit-chatting in the morning. I like seeing these. Sheena has been crying this whole trip. Like, I feel so bad for her. You could tell because the skin is puffy. Her eyelashes are probably literally hanging on by a thread. Like, because she always does that thing where she, like, touches them, which we do see the ladies when they cry on all of them, like Housewives especially. Like, they'll kind of do that, like, "Oh my God, are my eyelashes still on?" Because I just want for once, and a producer not say anything and them not edit it out, an eyelash peel off or fly off or, like, melt down their face with the tears. It'd be so funny. So she is very concerned that the eyelashes are gonna fall off with all this crying she's been doing, and she's just saying she's struggling to forgive Tom for herself. And she's like, "I mean, I am, like, team Ariana till the day I die, and I fully wanna be. It's not like she's making me be." And she's like, "But I need to kinda, like, forgive him for myself, but I'm not saying that means I'm gonna, like, invite him over for dinner and paint his toenails white." That was so funny. She said, "Paint his toenails white." I hope he doesn't have his toenails painted because he has ruined shades of nail polish for us, particularly white. And now we see in these confessionals, he has, like, bluish, whitish nails and, like, designs on them. I'm like, "Please stop it. Blowing all of your money on these, like, manicures because it costs money per nail to get designs." He's racking up, like, $100 plus manicures. But, Ariana is behind and she is doing her photo shoot for her cocktail book, which I do have. And I actually sent the book to one of my friends that recently, sadly, was in a breakup. So sent it to her and I was like, you are now a bad bitch and your single AF cocktail book is here for you to make. So she is just doing all the photos because we know that last cocktail book, it was supposed to be just her and Tom like protruded on that, which was like so annoying. But then we get them back in Tahoe and Tom is setting up for the yoga for everyone. And the lady comes, Shannon, and he's just explaining to her like everything that's going on. And like maybe she doesn't know who these people are, but she's probably in her brain thinking, like, yeah, I already know. Like, I know who all of you are. And she obviously knows they're on TV because there's cameras there. But she probably kind of like, if she didn't watch Vanderpump Rules, she probably just saw it because I mean, this breakup was on CNN. Like, let's be real. Everyone knew about it. Um, he was just like, yeah, I like cheated on my partner of 9 years. She was like, oh. And then, he's like, "Yeah, and there's, like, a dog here that used to, belong to the side piece that I cheated on, and his name was Graham, and now he's Hippie because he's, like, following them out. He's such a sweet boy walking all over. See, he's not biting her, not biting anyone on this trip. Probably wants to bite Tom Sandoval because if we think about it, it's so creepy. He spent so much time with Raquel. He probably spent so much time with that dog, and that's what Allie told James previously. So James is probably like, "I don't want you alone with Graham or Hippie." He could be like Prince. Like, you know how Prince changed his name to that symbol? It'd be like Hippie, formerly known as Graham. But they all go outside and they're on their mats and Schwartz has such dirty feet. My husband pointed that out to me because I was like jotting my notes down, looking down. And I always look to him to hopefully pick up these random weird things. And he's like, ew, do you see how dirty his feet are? So, of course, I had to rewind it and look. And it's like, yeah, obviously they're not power washing this deck, or Schwartz just probably has not put shoes on all day. He probably walked down like near the lake without shoes. He just strikes me as that type that would go into like a store without shoes if he could. Like, no shirt, shoes, no service, like, Shorts would be like, "I'll wear a shirt, but could I, like, maybe not wear the shoes?" Um, Brock is missing. He stumbles in a little late because he woke up at 5:50 to go golf. Now, I don't know why he did that because nobody went golfing with him. So I then looked to my husband who does golf. I said, "Would you wake up at 5:50 on this trip to go golf with no one and you're not being paid for it?" Because remember, Brock is a paid cast member. So, like, he had to get his butt back to this yoga thing. So, Sheena's probably like, not only do I want you here for moral support for me, because it's going to be awkward and uncomfortable, but like, you need to come here and earn your keep and your paycheck that Bravo is now allowing you to have. So, he comes in. Little tipsy. He's not like blacked out by any means, but you could tell he was golfing, if you know what I mean. Little drunk, he goes right over to sit with James, Allie, and Hippie, formerly known as Graham. And Sheena's like, "Oh, do you want to like come over here?" And he's like, "No." I want to know if Brock just, he says in his confessional that he wanted to give Tom and Sheena the chance to mend on their own. But I also feel the producer was like, hey, you're late for the yoga. And by the way, when you go in, go all the way over and sit with James Alley and Hippie because we want Sheena and Tom to have a moment. Because if you remember, this is your real life, but we are also producing a show. So Sheena and Sandoval have to go like back to back together. And the yoga instructor is like, let's just be one. Let's feel each other. Oh, and by the way, Lala is partners with Schwartz. But it's so funny. So like James, Allie, Brock, and Hippie, because he's right there, have to be partners together. It would have been so funny if just like James and Allie were back to back, and since Brock is, like, a little drunk, like, if he was a little more drunk, I feel like he would've been like, "Come on, hippie, just, like, lay on my back. We'll be 1 to 1." Like, that would've been kinda funny. But I know we're more focusing on Shishi and Sandoval. So, Sheena is, again, crying. She's not concerned about the lashes for this moment, so this is really, like, real stuff, and she's just getting really upset, and, she walks away, And she's like, "I just need a moment because I still effing hate you." Like, she's, like, kind of whispering it, but, like, obviously the mic is picking it up, and she's saying it as she walks away. She's not looking right in Tom's eyes and saying, "I hate you." But then Brock runs inside after Sheena, and he's like, "I think this is gonna be good." She's like, "Why aren't you sitting with me? Like, you're my husband. I need you for moral support." He's like, "No, Sheena, this is gonna be good." I need to work on my Australian accent. You think I would have it down because our kids watch Bluey all the time? Like, they'll have a Brock accent before I do because of watching Bluey. But, I do agree with Brock. I think Sheena and Tom are the only ones that really were, besides James, that really were like friends. Like Allie never knew him before all this, really. Brock, just like association by Sheena. And then Lala doesn't like Sandoval. So Schwartz is trying to like make it not awkward. And he's like, "Yeah, guys, I was like, saw this blue jay this morning with my dirty feet." He always needs to like make things okay. It's so funny. He's definitely a people pleaser. And that definitely is a main reason why him and Katie are not married anymore. But then Sheena comes back out. She's like, "Okay, I'm okay. Like, I'm still mad at you, but I'm okay to at least do this." So they're still back to back. And then there's Tom is like flashing back. Well, this isn't his flashbacks. This is like what the show wants us to think Tom is flashing back in his brain. But I think when they're meditating, he's just thinking about like Rachel, honestly, and like Coors Light and his band. And then they face each other, and the yoga meditation person says, "Picture the person you are looking in their eyes if this is the last day you would see them," which is so dark to say, but then it's also so dark because we know that Sandoval has said, whether we believe him or not, because like I said, we can't believe anything he says. He said he has had dark thoughts. I really do think he did, though. Sheena has a montage in her head, which the producers have set up. Again, I don't know if this is really what would go through her head. I think what's going through her head is, please let these lashes stay on through this trip because of all the crying I'm doing. And how bad do I look crying on camera? It's giving me Kim Kardashian vibes of crying. Um, it's, like, pretty sad when they do show the montage of her and Tom because they really were friends. They've been on the show day 1 together, they're OGs. Like, her and the Toms on this trip are the only OGs on the show. And she is just really like, "I am just so upset what you did, and I need to, like, move past, like, hating you, but I am not your friend, like, because I feel like I don't even know you," which is true. He's like, "Yeah, you know me." But it's like, "No, we don't, Tom, because if you could hurt Ariana like that," and he said mean stuff to Sheena, like, because he's probably thinking in his brain, like, "Well, I cheated on Ariana, not you." It's like, "No, you told Sheena on the phone, like, our friendship means nothing." That's terrible, and if you didn't mean that, then why'd you say it? Like, words hurt a lot and resonate in people's brain. Like, I know for me, if someone says something mean, I could like forgive them, but like it does play back in your brain a lot. And I can forgive people depending on what it is, by the way. Like if you're like a Tom Sandoval, I'm not forgiving you. But I understand what she means. Like, she needs to just get rid of the hate because she's looking toothpick thin, even though on the previous episode she's trying to attempt to grab fat on her stomach, even though, girl, that is not fat. You could tell she's very stressed. She's very thin. And her and Brock are having like the problems back home. So it's just like a lot. And Rachel, I mean, she's mourning the loss of Rachel too. She was her friend and she put a restraining order on Sheena. So she's really going through it. The ugly Kim Kardashian crying. I feel really bad for Shishi. But I feel like that was good. Her and Tom were partners. I do agree with Brock. And then we go back to Ariana's photo shoot. Katie pops in, brings lunch. They are just talking about Katie's date, her hot date with the guy from the 27s. And I was wondering about this too, because we didn't get to really see the date. She said he didn't know what penne pasta was. Now, this is the second incident on Bravo in a couple weeks that we are getting people not knowing basic shapes of pasta, because on Summer House, it was revealed to us that Craig didn't know what rigatoni was. And how dare him? I'm liking Craigie now. And he does a lot of cooking, it seems. I mean, when you walk into the grocery store, penne pasta and rigatoni pasta are always there, and spaghetti. Like, it's always there. It's not some weird, strange noodle that we can only know if we're actual cooks or in Italy. The guy thought it was a sauce. Katie is probably like, "Oh my god, this is Tom Schwartz all over again, being like a man child, and I can't deal with this shit." So she said there's no more dates. I think his name was Kevin. So there's no more dates for Kevin, which I was a little sad about that because I feel like the music thing would have been like a good common denominator for them. Because I just saw Katie went on this like emo cruise. So she's not just attending emo night, she's attending an emo cruise, which I mean, that mosh pit could have got violent. Someone could have mosh pit off the deck on the emo cruise. So I hope everyone was safe on that emo cruise. But then they get on the little gondolas, and Tom said that Rachel never did any of this to hurt anyone. So they're on, it's Tom, and Brock, obviously set up by production. And then in the other one, it's everyone else minus Hippie, formerly known as Graham. So Tom Schwartz is sitting in the middle, and Brock and Tom Sandoval start going at it. And by the way, they're not gondolas like in Italy in the water. It's the skiing gondolas, like the that's taking them around Tahoe, which looked beautiful, by the way. This looked so cool. Definitely would want to do this. But Allie's a little scared. James is like, oh, and Allie's like, oh my God, stop and sit down. Very nervous. Because I imagine if you don't like heights, like that stuff doesn't bother me, but like you wouldn't like this because it's like all glass and you could see everything. But it looks pretty cool. So when Tom said that to Brock, mind you, Schwartzy's in the middle. So Tom said Rachel never did any of this to hurt anyone. And Brock said, your girl put a restraining order on my wife. And then Schwartz is sinking deep in his seat because he's like, oh no. Because, Brock, a little tuned up from golf. And Tom is just taking no accountability, which I think is starting to piss him off. And he's seeing Shishi be so upset. And that's his lady. So he has to come to her defense like the knight in shining armor. And then he's like, and your team put out there that I was having an affair with Raquel, which is total crap and caused a lot of issues like in our family dynamic because I'm sure everyone's mind was blown with that Tom could do that to Ariana and all of them. So I'm sure Sheena like loves and trusts Brock, but in the back of her brain, it's like no one was safe at that time. So she probably is like, oh my God, is something happening? And very scary to think about. And I mean, I definitely don't think anything happened. But then, like, Tom's like, "No, man, that wasn't me." And it's like, who else would it be? And it probably was your team because current day, he doesn't have that PR team anymore. Wonder why. He probably found out they actually did that. But it's like, take a little accountability. And that's what Brock's saying when they get off the gondola. He immediately says, we are here, and the woman that started this with you isn't. That was like, get it, Brock. Pay raise a little bit for you. Like, he's really getting into it. He is deserving that pay. And I think he's bringing it this season because Sheena's like, let's try and get you a pay raise. Um, I agree with him though. Like, not grovel, but be a little more just listening and apologetic to all these people because they're here. Because guess what? Rachel ain't. She's not reading or responding to your text messages. She wants nothing to do with you. And now, almost a year later, she's freaking suing you. So get a grip on who's actually there. And in his delusional brain, I think he thinks if he's nice enough, they will be his friends again. But like they all know, like Sheena said, I'm not going to paint your toenails and you're not going to be my friend, but like I will stop hating you, but like I'm not your friend. But like he's like delusional and thinks like saying hi in the airport, like they're best friends again. But I love that Brock said that because I do agree with that. He needs to get a grip. So then they're all just having like some weird snacks, Rockstar energy drinks, and then a picture comes out, which I do remember seeing this, of the night before when they were all at the bar. Like a fan said, "Oh my gosh, can I take a picture with all you guys? Like, it's my birthday." So we're like, "Yeah." So they're all just posing for the picture. And Sheena, like, someone has to stand next to Tom. So Sheena is standing next to Tom with her arm slightly around him. Like, it wasn't even close, tight in. Like, there was a big gap. Like, a whole other skinny little human could have gone in between them, or like a child, or like Hippie could have gone in the middle. They should have put Hippie in the middle, hold him. But the internet was bashing her so bad, like, "Oh, look, Sheena's already best friends with Tom again and blah, 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 blah." So she's just like, poor Shishi. Eyelashes are on their last leg, on her face, crying. Like, her face is so puffy from all this Kim Kardashian crying. I feel so bad for her. And Lala was like, "Is Ariana, like, hopping on the World Wide Web, like, shutting it down?" And she's like, "No." And so Lala is starting to get, mad that they are all taking a lot of, like, brunt of this. I get it, like, Ariana isn't gonna make public service announcements like, "Hey, everyone, like, chill out and, like, be nice to Tom and, like, chill out on the friends," but something like this, yeah, like, Sheena is struggling, so we are gonna see, like, in the preview for the next episode, Lala is gonna have a little talk with Ariana, which I do like that. Sometimes I don't like when Lala gets all, like, so opinionated and yells at people and, like, "No, you have to do this." Because she doesn't like when people do that to her. But she's having Sheena's back because 'cause they're very close, so I do like that she's just bringing it to Ariana's attention because she also knows it's awkward for Sheena to say it to Ariana. So I did, like, feel really bad for Sheena, and I know people are starting to get exhausted that she makes things about her, but we see her, like, obviously taking this, really hard. It's tough for her because I do feel bad when all these people get, like, mean hate comments on the internet. It has to be, like, really rough for them, and I feel bad for her. So then we get everybody going on the boat. This is what I like to see. I feel like we're getting back into when they all used to go on vacations. Half of them are not drinking anymore, though. So it's a different type of vibe. I feel like everyone used to, like, fight drunk. Now they're just fighting sober. Because we know that Lala and Tom are going to go head to head on the boats. That's why I'm like, yes, let's get on the boat. Bringing Hippie, formerly known as Graham, getting on the boat. He's just being such a good boy. That's why I'm just biased with the golden doodles, but they are sweet baby angels from God. Ours just got groomed the other day. He looks beautiful. He watches Vanderpump Rules with us. I think him and Hippie would be wonderful, splendid friends. Um, Sheena goes up top on the boat to FaceTime Katie and Ariana. They are doing little interviews with their chef consult. Now, I just have to say, this woman overtook the interview. Ariana was like saying something, and then she's like, "Yeah, and blah, 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 blah." So it's like, all right, I get why you brought her for her opinion, but you should have been like, just be like silent so we can ask the questions. Cause the one interview guy that came in, he wore a little pickle tie, that was cute, and he said he works at the Four Seasons, so I would hire him just for the pickle tie because sandwich shop, that was cute, and if he can serve people at the Four Seasons, he could serve people at the sandwich shop, which current day is still not open, and I've been watching, like, a lot of TikToks and Instagram reels, and people that live out there are walking by it, and it's just, like, piece by piece, everything's coming down, so now I'm feeling it was like a hoax to make it look like it was open to do the promo for the show because when they did, like, the opening credits, we see Katie and Ariana in something about her and the sign and awning and everything, like, I don't know what's up to code, but I highly doubt the whole store was out of code, and they had, like, a sign and everything. Why would you have to take your sign down? You're telling me the sign was out of code? Like, I don't think so. So it's weird. I don't know if they're pulling back, but that would be really wasteful and stupid because they were paying rent for all that time and doing all that stuff for it. But I feel like it's getting weird that they're not open. And they're next to Lisa at SUR. So, like, I don't think they would want another location. Like, that's it. And what I remember is their rent's $5,000 a month, which isn't that much. I mean, I know it's a small space, but out there I was shocked that was it for the rent. Not like Schwartz and Sandy's, that's $20,000 a month next to, like, a laundromat and a pet store. But Sheena is FaceTiming them, and she said she just kinda needs to let go of the hate, so she's telling them how they did that session with Shannon and how, of course, she was partnered with Tom. And Ariana's stank face is so funny. I still haven't made my meme about it, but after this, I need to make a meme because I've just been going back and forth in my brain like, what am I going to write above the caption of her and Katie's like stank face? So it's funny. You always get people that would like team up on each other. And I feel like Ariana used to say like, "Oh, Stassi, like, teams up with Katie." Well, now Ariana's teaming up with Katie because Katie always hated Sandoval, I feel like, and now after she's divorced, realizes he was like 85% of the problem of the demise of her marriage. She's on that hate Tom train too with Ariana. So she's like, "I'm ride or die for you forever, bitch," because I didn't really like him anyway. Now I definitely don't like him. This is where I am feeling bad for Sheena though. Like, I understand what Sheena's saying, but, like, probably not the right audience to, like, FaceTime Ariana, who this was all done to 3 months ago, and tell her this. Like, just keep having those little convos with Lala or Brock or Schwartz or, like, you had it today with Sandoval. Like, just maybe leave Ariana out of it because I don't think she cares. And I'm not gonna lie, I would probably have Ariana's stank face as well. So Katie was like, "I just feel like Sheena is, like, preaching to the wrong choir." And in the after show, she said that she feels like Sheena really needs, like, male approval, which I do understand. I agree with that because she said, like, after her divorce, all of a sudden she was best friends with Schwartz, or, like, she just had to say, "Oh, you can't make me pick sides because he's my good friend." So Sheena is leaning a little bit towards that and saying like, "Well, you can't make me pick sides," but she's really not saying sides. Like she did say to Lala, "I'm team Ariana till the day I die." But I just don't want to walk around and do the podcasts anymore and say I hate him and stuff like that. Which that was all like her doing on her own. Like Ariana did not say like, "Please record your podcast today and talk about how much you hate Tom." Like that is not her motive. She just has said to everyone, for my own mental health and my own self respect, if you still want to be his friend, then I can't be your friend. So I understand her because that would be me. I'd be like, this wasn't an amicable split. It needs to be him or me. There's no gray area. It's definitely black or white. And I'm Team Ariana as well. So, James was just posing with Hippie and Allie, and he said, "I'm gonna make it Instagram official that he's back. He's making his comeback with us. He's a good little doggy, and he has a new name." And I remember when he posted that, I was like, "Oh, it's Graham, and he's on a boat with James and Allie." So this is when like the show is always like late, like it's not current event because they do post pictures. Sometimes they hold off doing stuff like that. Like, sometimes they'll hold off engagements and stuff, and that's why sometimes people break up. Like, when you win The Bachelor, you can't see or speak to the people for months, and then sometimes they're like, "Well, I've kind of forgotten about you, so just forget about it, and let's just call this a wash. At least we were both on TV." So, I do remember when he posted that, and I was so excited and happy. So then Lala and Tom are sitting around the little like fruit tray, and she's taking the time to now say, "I just need to ask you a question." Because she's thinking, she had her emotional morning with you. It's now my turn. We don't have Ariana and Katie here. I do feel like this group does want to like let go of the hate. So she's feeling comfortable and she's like, "Let me just say it here while I have you here and we're alone." She said, "How could you look at me and say, I'm not being real and I'm not showing my real life in that article, knowing that you were doing this with Raquel?" And then she said in her confessional that ironically, that article that Tom went off about Lala not being real and not showing her real life, literally the next day we found out about Scandival. So that's really rich and real hypocritical coming from someone that's having a secret affair. And I applaud Lala for just saying, how could you talk about me? What is the saying? Like, you're throwing stones at a glass house. Like, how could you say that when you were doing that? Now, let's say he wasn't doing that by all means. He could touch on how Lala had the hidden relationship with Randall. Remember when she'd be like, "My man," and they had to sign NDAs to go to, Coachella. So, for a while, she couldn't say who Randall was, and it's because he was in the middle of a divorce. Like, I also don't think that's what Tom understands, because he's like, "Lala, for years, we couldn't talk about your life." I also hate that he said years. It was like, maybe a year, like 1 year, 1 calendar year, Tom, just almost the length of you and Raquel. He's like, this is why he's annoying. He's making it seem like, "Oh, well, you lied longer than me, so you're more evil than me." And, like, not really the same thing. Um, Not that it would have been good. Like, Lala says she didn't know that Randall was still actively married, telling Amber, his wife at the time, that everything's fine and he's side piecing it with Lala. He told Lala, "We are separated and we are getting a divorce. It just takes time," which is so believable. Kristen Cavallari said she just finalized her divorce. And I'm like, what? She said it took 2.5 years for them to finalize their divorce. But like, since then, they've been living separated and she's been going on dates, and perhaps he has too. I don't know. But it's like, it's understandable when you're a celebrity or you have a lot of money or you have a little property that the divorce is gonna take longer. So as long as you're legally separated and living in other houses, that's fine. So that's what he was telling Lala. I'm not really sure, like, if they were living in the same house, why Lala never knew that, but whatever. Neither here nor there for Tom. He is making it seem like she knew all that and was doing it with Randall. And may I add, Lala wasn't friends with Amber. Like, that's what she said on the reunion. She's like, "I wasn't your best friend, ho." Like, when she slept with James. When him and Raquel were like not even boyfriend girlfriend, they were like maybe dating. And different time, different place. Tom always like brings it back. So he said that to Lala. And she's like, "No." She's like, "I cannot believe that you are not taking any accountability." And then she went there with it with him. They were getting old school, like, Lala may be sober, but I was seeing that, like, drunk Lala, Bambi-eyed bitch era coming out, yelling at Tom, and then she's like, "Am I crazy?" And he's like, "We put ourselves out there, you don't." She's like, "Are you serious? Like, you're insane." And then she's like, "I felt bad for you for a minute, and then I watched Raquel say, like, what she did about Tom." Like, she said that, like, Tom told her what to say and all that stuff, like a brainwashing thing. So she's like, "You lie, you groom, you look people in the eye like you're like a narcissist, you're sick." So, one thing too, Lala is always, like, channeling, like, Randall. Like, she has PTSD from Randall, understandable. And she says Randall's a narcissist. I feel like she throws the word narcissist around a lot. Like, I do think Tom's a narcissist. I think all these people though that are on TV have narcissist like tendencies, because they kind of have to. And it's not even narcissist tendencies, it's like confident. Let's be nicer and say they're just all super confident. But I do think Tom is a bit of a narcissist. Like, we see Ariana was trying to do that cocktail book and he weaseled in. Or like James is proposing to Raquel and he's like, "Oh man, let me give you all this money to propose to her. Like, let me write you a check for $900. Like, and then him even giving that money to Sheena during the pandemic, because I forgot to touch on that. She said that she's having trouble, like, not forgiving him kind of, or moving past the hate, because during COVID, her podcast was canceled and she was pregnant and she was struggling because, Brock was just like mooching off of her and the show wasn't really like doing anything. That's when like we thought they were going to be canceled because it was awful. And she woke up one day to a Venmo of like several $1,000s from Tom, which is very nice. But you wonder if he like gave it to her so like he can say, "Oh, well, remember I did this, so you like owe me for the rest of your life." Sometimes people do that. I'm not saying everyone's intentions are like that, like, "Oh, kiss my feet forever because I gave you this money." But now knowing his real personality and that he could do this to Ariana with Raquel, maybe that was his motive for doing stuff. Or like when he was like over the top helping Jax for his wedding, maybe he was doing it so he could say, "Look what a good friend I am, and you're a poopy friend." Like, and you do wonder. So Lala's like, "Am I going crazy?" She comes at the end of the vote. She's like, "Am I going crazy?" And Sheena's like, "She just wants you to apologize for what you said about her. Like, stop saying, yeah, but like every time it's like somebody says, I can't believe you looked at me, said you don't share anything about your life and you're having a secret affair. That's very hypocritical. Can you say sorry? Like, he needs to just say, yeah, I know, I'm sorry. And it was weird. The only thing I don't like is that you didn't talk about this. Like, he needs to like follow up with that. Instead, he's just like gets so defensive and it makes me so mad. Like, I'm yelling at the TV like Lala and Tom can hear me. If Lala could hear me, she'd be like, "Yeah, what Erica said. I'm on her side." And then she's like, "You ain't my dad. You ain't my mama. You ain't nothing." And I'm like, "Okay, Bambi-eyed bitch Lala's definitely coming out." Then he hugged her and I was like, but it was like a real hug. Sheena was the only one that could get through to him. And he's like, the only breakthrough I could get is with Shishi because she was so upset. So like I need to please Shishi. She's coming in here. And she was right though. So this is all like very pivotal moments. Like this was a heavy episode, I feel like a lot of crying, a lot of hugging, a lot of emotions. It was a lot. Brock, they all come back. He is drunk as a skunk. He was having secret shots with the captain in the bottom of the boat. And Tom said this was like really a breakthrough and that he feels like he was a stray dog on the street. This was his analogy of himself. He was a stray dog on the street. And now they are like leaving him food on the porch, but he can't come inside. He can't sleep like in the bed or near the fire inside, but he can maybe sleep in the backyard still outside. But they're giving him scraps of food. So that was like really emotional, interesting analogy. I probably would treat a stray dog better than him though, so I don't know why he's comparing himself to a cute little animal that we would all feel bad for. Like at the end of the day, I can't feel super bad for him for all of them giving him some crap because he deserves it. And I feel like he still hasn't just taken the crap. Like he thinks he has in his brain, but even Schwartz would be like, no, you need to just say, yeah, you know what, Lala, I'm sorry. Or yes, Sheena, I know, I'm sorry. Or James. It's like, that's all these people want to hear. Very annoying. Um, so Brock passes out. He's in snooze town. He's had a long day because remember he was golfing at 5:50 in the morning and then all these emotions and then he's like drinking all day basically, like because you have to too, or else you'll fall asleep. So now he is pooped out. He's like, I have done my job. I have earned that paycheck intervening in all this. I really went head to head with Tom. So I'm really getting it. Poor Sheena. There she goes again, crying again in the bathroom. This is when she really had the ugly Kim Kardashian cry. And then her and Lala get snuggly in the bed again. Lala has her little Barefoot Dreams blankie. I have the same one. I was literally in my Barefoot Dreams blankie writing my notes down for the show. And I'm like, I'm with you, Lala. I'm channeling the Barefoot Dreams blankie. Side note, I have their socks too. Wonderful. I'll do like a nice shower, exfoliate my feet, lotion my feet, put those bad boys on, and get in the blanket. Ugh, just heaven, just heaven. And then I watch all the drama on the show. I'm comfortable and I'm relaxing, but I'm watching them not be relaxed. I love that. So Sheena is just telling Lala, you know, I don't like how the FaceTime went with Ariana because she was like, pretty quiet. And she's like, well, that sucks for you. Like not being very sympathetic. And she's like, I have been a good friend to her. And this is when I need her to be a good friend to me. And she's like, I understand this happened to her, but like, when is it going to be about me? And I'm like, oh, like, I get what Sheena means at the end of the day, but she gets shitted on so much on the internet because everyone's like, there she goes again, making it all about herself. And it's like, I get what she means, but it's like, yeah, probably not right to like cry about it all the time and be like, kid in a candy store, like, what about me? Get candy for me. And Lala did have a point though. She's like, you know what? Ariana is doing just fine. She is thriving. I want that for her, but she is doing just fine. Like she's not in a dark hole crying somewhere. If she was like, if this was more like Ariana didn't get all these brand deals, if she was like, in a mental facility. Like, we would all feel so awful and not even talk about ourselves. Like, you know what I mean? But she is like 10 days later having a new boyfriend, getting all these ad deals on Dancing with the Stars, which is where it took a turn for the worse for Sheena of the selfishness, because I was feeling bad and then I was like, ooh, probably not the best thing. She said, I was so happy for her when she got Dancing with the Stars, even though she knows that I always wanted that.
I never told anybody that because I'm such a good friend.
Yeah, Sheena was like in her confessional dogging on Ariana when Ariana did that like backup dance for her that one time when she was doing one of her bad songs. And she's like, she's come a long way since being my backup dancer and being on Dancing with the Stars. And I'm like, oh my God, Sheena, you deserve to lose the eyelash now after saying that. I get they have to say these little, like, maybe snippy comments to make it like funny, good reality TV. But I don't even think she was doing it for that. I think she was dead ass serious. And then this had me dying. On the after show, she said that or no, it wasn't the after show. It was the preview for the next episode. I'm sorry, because they did talk about Dancing with the Stars on the after show. It was the preview for the next episode when she sits with Lisa. I watched it. And she said that she got dance lessons in the hopes that she would be asked to be on Dancing with the Stars. Sheena, that's so embarrassing. What do you mean you paid for dance lessons just in case you got asked? That's so weird. I mean, it's like I get saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get a manicure because my boyfriend and I are going on a vacation. He may propose to me. I have to make sure my nails looking good." Like, that's a little different because, like, you probably would have got your nails done to go on that vacation anyway. And if you're going on an alone trip and you've been together a while and have been talking about engagement, that's a plausible point. But Sheena, out of nowhere, taking dance lessons, thinking it's because she would be asked to be on Dancing with the Stars is so weird, desperate, and sad to me. I hope she's getting a refund because after that comment, I don't know if they'll put her on the show for sympathy, but that would even be weird. Like, at this point, I wouldn't even want to be on the show because, like, I said all that and looks so pathetic, and everyone would be like, "Oh, you're just on it because they feel bad for you." And it's like Ariana was just on it. So those are the times that I'm like, "All right, Sheena, it's not about you right now. Take a chill pill." I get the other points she's making, but when she brought up the Dancing with the Stars thing, I'm like, that just did it for me. That did it for me. But in the next episode, we're going to see Lala meeting with Ariana, and she is going to have like a little chat on Shishi's behalf. And then her and Katie get into it a little bit. And I think it's still on Shishi's behalf. So Lala's really like old school Bambi I'd bitch Lala, getting mouthy with everyone, but with her Perrier instead of with vodka. So I like that. Um, yeah, she's like, "You're a bit much all the time." Like, Katie's probably saying, "Sheena, that FaceTime was like a bit much and you like wanting sympathy." And Lala's like, "You're a bit much all the time." But you know what isn't a bit much? The status of their sandwich shop. We all want to know. We all want to know. I would like to see people eating sandwiches there because, again, it's too far away for me to go, but I would like to see other people enjoying sandwiches there. And then in hopes that one day when I'm out there, I can enjoy a sandwich there. By the time my butt gets out there, maybe it'll be open, but that's a long time from now. I don't know when I'll be going there next. I've only been out there one time, but I have a whole other set of bucket lists. I did eat at Sir when I was out there. I would love to go to Tom Tom because it looks super cool. Don't want to go to Schwartz and Sandy's, but would maybe do a drive by. It also depend on how long I was there. If I was there for a really long time, then maybe I would add it to the bucket list. But like, I wouldn't even want to give them money. I would like have like table water and like bread and then be like, "Oh, I actually changed my mind. I don't want anything here." And I'd leave. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't. All right. Well, as always, this was so fun and I hope everyone has a great weekend. As always, this was so fun, and you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify, and Apple. Till next time, see ya.